Financial support for the production of Issues in Education is provided by the Florida State University License Plate. Your FSU license plate supports scholarships for students who enrich and contribute to our communities. Special programs, gift certificates, and rebates for first-time buyers online at fsu.edu/mytag.
Coming up today on Issues in Education, it's that time of year when freshmen all around the country are getting ready to head off to college for the first time. We talk about how to get the most out of that experience from day one. Welcome to Issues in Education. I'm Suzanne Smith, alongside my co-host, the Florida State University President, Dr. Eric Barron. This fall, FSU will bring approximately 5,800 new freshmen to Florida State's campus. That first day will be the beginning of a whole new world of experiences for them, from a different kind of classroom environment to making new friends, and for many, dealing with things like bills and laundry for the first time. Today we're talking about how to make a student's college experience the best it can be, from day one. We're joined by Andrea Failing, Associate Director of New Student and Family Programs at FSU. Also here are student orientation and team leaders Tura Magley and Addison Hughes. They're both seniors at FSU. Thank you all for joining us today.
Hi.
So first, why don't we just start with a little bit of background about the two of you?
Okay, sure. I'm Addison Hughes, and I'm a senior and a music major.
I'm Tura Magley, and I'm a senior, and I just found out I'll be getting my dual degree in sociology and psychology.
Wonderful.
Fantastic.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now, explain what orientation leaders do and team leaders do, and maybe a little bit about what orientation is for Florida State students.
Mm-hmm. Okay. An orientation leader is highly trained to be knowledgeable about all the different departments on campus, about advising, financial aid, everything, so that once students come in, they have that resource and that person that knows their name as well, that they can ask these questions to and have these dialogues with.
Yep, and a team leader, which is what Addison and I have been, we've had the privilege of serving in this year, is a returning orientation leader. So there were 4 of us this year who came back to train the orientation team and help them through their spring, as well as to be a resource not only for students and family members, but for orientation leaders whenever they may have a question. We're kind of their go-to people.
So how did you get involved? I mean, did just something you wanted to do?
Honestly, I don't know why I applied. I saw all the publications and the flyers, and I thought, oh, orientation was fun. I could do that. So I just kind of dove into it.
Mm-hmm. And for me, it was my sophomore year, and I was sitting in Swanee, and I was thinking, okay, what am I going to be doing next? So what's something I can do to give back to FSU, because I feel like even in 1 year at college, it had given so much to me, and I just wanted to do something to be able to give back and to pass down, the legacy from one class to another.
Andrea, do all incoming freshmen go through orientation in the summer before they start?
Mm-hmm. Orientation is required, in fact, for all freshmen as well as any student coming into FSU, so even upper division transfer students, it's definitely required.
Why is it so important? Mm-hmm. I mean, because, in today's age, you can get a lot of information on the internet.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. We do encourage them to look at our new Knoll site before coming to orientation so they're prepared, but definitely it's important to not only do the, work type stuff as getting your classes, learning our Blackboard website, learning how to sign up for your classes, how it's different from high school or maybe where you're transferring from, but also so that they can kind of get the information on the other possibilities that are open to them, getting involved with registered student organizations, intramurals, and honor society, networking with faculty and staff they meet with to build that support network here, and then also most importantly to start building that friendship base through the mentors and their peers that they have at orientation.
So for the two of you, what kind of questions do you get asked? Some must be big concerns by students that you hear over and over again.
Where's the bathroom is the biggest one that we get asked.
Most frequent.
But a lot of students come in with the concern of, how is this going to be my home? How am I going to form a community here? And I think orientation is the first step in making social connections with other people on campus. And so I find that students, their biggest question is, how am I going to make FSU a part of me, and how can I become a part of it?
So how do you answer the question?
One of the biggest things for me is involvement. They need to find places on campus where they feel like they're at home, places that seem familiar. So things that they did in high school, things that they wanted to do in high school and never had the chance, stuff like that, that they should jump into once they get here, and then that'll get the ball rolling on.
Do they have specific questions like, well, what kind of sports can I get involved? Because, you know, I mean, I played football in high school, so, but, you know, I'm no way I could play for the football team. What do I do? Do you tell them about other things that are available?
Yeah, definitely. We have a ton of intramural sports and things like that they can get involved in. So even if you're not top tier, you can still get involved with different sports activities and a whole range of other activities that they can do.
And the greatest part about that, about getting involved and having orientation as a place to start looking, is that our orientation staff has, you know, 37 of us this year had very diverse experiences on campus, and so we aren't by any means a cookie cutter, you know, involvement person. We're only involved in certain things. We're all involved in a variety of things. So if someone would say, you know, I want to get involved in a service organization, I would say, okay, well, like, go see Addison because he's involved in service and you should go talk to him. And so it's really great to rely on each other to provide the best resources for students.
And do you see yourself giving answers to questions that you wished you knew the answer to when you were a freshman?
Absolutely.
Yes, and a lot of the times there were questions that I was afraid to ask as a freshman. So it's really great that they have that comfort level with asking us these questions, because it's really important to know things like, how do I get in contact with my roommate, and what kinds of things should I be asking them and stuff like that, because if you show up with 2 microwaves, what are you going to do with them, you know?
Yeah.
That is a good question. So is that one of those things that they can sort of find out about at orientation? Like, do they get to meet their roommates at orientation or anything like that?
They don't necessarily meet their roommate at orientation, but they should be getting their invoices from housing sometime around then, and then they get information on how to reach their roommate, their phone number, their email address, things like that. So they make the resources available to them too.
What kind of advice do you give to students in general to make it successful when they come to campus?
I would just say to work really hard to find your niche. And I know when I was a freshman, I came from a very highly involved high school experience, and so I wanted to get involved, but I was almost so overwhelmed because there's so much to do here. They were like, where do I start? And so for me, knowing, I guess the advice I would give a freshman is to not be afraid to find something and not enjoy it. Don't feel like just try it for the fun of it. And if it's something that you love, then keep doing it. But if not, it's okay, because you have
so many others.
Yeah, so many, hundreds of other organizations or things to get involved with.
So Andrea, one of the things that I think is fascinating right off the bat is there's an orientation for students and there's an orientation for parents. So why did we do that, and how do they differ?
We definitely encourage them to attend orientation, and we do different programs for them because some of the presentations for students are more of an energizer, a small group that may not necessarily be beneficial or seem as important to the family members. And so we do other things for the family members, as well as it's a time to start separating family and students and letting students gain that independence and start thinking on their feet on their own. And so it's really important that we keep them separate for some of the sessions, like gaining their classes and things like that.
We always hear about helicopter parents, and in some cases Black Hawk helicopter parents. Do you see that in orientation, or how do you deal with that?
Yeah, I mean, definitely our parents are hands-on. Orientation's a very stressful time. They're very excited to be there, but they're also very scared and nervous, so they have a lot of questions. They want to be supportive to their student, but sometimes they're a little over-involved. But orientation's definitely that first step in teaching them to kind of take that back step from being the decision maker and the caretaker for their student to more of the supporter and encourager, to kind of help the student make their own choices and be there to back them up, and kind of learn how they can be involved without being too involved. Family Connection is something that I work with. It's a volunteer group of advisory council members who are current family members here, and some advice that they give even before they join Family Connection, asking their student, is this too involved? Is this overshadowing you? And then also teaching them tools during orientation, whether it's from us or families that they meet, learning to ask their student questions instead of solving the problem or going and asking the answer to that academic advisor or that presentation you just heard, encouraging them to start doing that for themselves. So we do see family members who are a little over-involved at times, but you definitely see during orientation that first step back.
You try to guide them for that first step back. I get emails from parents who I no did not go through parents' orientation. Please change Sally's grade from a C to a B+.
Yes.
And I don't know who Sally is and what the class is,
Right.
but I'm amazed a parent is asking the president of the university to change their daughter's grade.
Yes.
So.
Yes, and it does happen during orientation, but I think that's where some of the resources we give them, if they utilize it and they go through the program and join Family Connection, they learn to kind of relax a little bit and trust that we're going to take good care of their student.
Yeah.
Does the Family Connection program also help them keep in contact with the university throughout the year when they're at home wondering what their kid is doing on campus?
Yeah, definitely. That's part of it. Connecting and guiding and advising our family members. We see them as a good resource and a partner in their students' education, so we keep them connected, informed of deadlines. So if their student didn't tell them when their tuition bill is due, reminding them when that's due, or housing, big events going on campus that they might want to come, it's a good time to visit their student, ways to be supportive during exam time or midterms, and how to be that support again without being overbearing, and then the resources. So if you have a question about safety or you have a question about meal plans, giving them the resources and doing articles on that to help inform them.
Great. So now if we have one issue, which is how to connect with a roommate, and another bit of advice of get engaged. What are some of the others? Do you have kind of a top 5 list or of biggest concerns that students have?
Or most surprising.
Or most surprising, yeah.
The ones that probably are very important that you may not have realized.
Okay, so for me, meal plans are a huge question that people have.
They want to know how it works?
They want to know how it works, how their card knows what they're getting and what they're swiping for, and they really do ask us, you know, which one did you get? Did you like it? And so we really are, you know, the liaison between a lot of campus partners, and they really do take our advice. So that's a big one. Like I said, ways to get involved, and I guess a lot of times breaking down some misconceptions that FSU is tied to for some reason, and explaining that their college experience is exactly what they want to make it. And I think a lot of them will come in with the, yes, I'm going to college, this is so exciting, I have all this freedom, but knowing that they have us to look up to as role models to know how to responsibly act on that freedom and things like that. So I think those would be my top 3.
And just to kind of build on that, I think it's really important that students realize that they do have us as role models, but that they also need to make their own experience. So even if their orientation leader or their big brother or their big sister, all the other people they know have gotten involved in certain organizations, they don't have to follow that same path, and that they can explore and use all the other resources that we have on campus, because we have hundreds of clubs and organizations, and we have all these campus partners and things like that that are there to help them. So they need to know that it's okay to do their research and find other things to do on campus.
When students are with you in the orientation, are there anything they're surprised at that they suddenly are going to have to be responsible for that they hadn't thought of?
I think for me, the biggest thing with going through orientation is that everyone is coming from their own communities back home, and they're really used to the way that they've grown up and the people that they've surrounded themselves with. And then coming to orientation is kind of a big shocker of, oh my goodness, there are people that are different than me here. And that's something we love to embrace, and because FSU is such a diverse and enriched community in that sense, and I think they are really shocked about, oh my goodness, I'm going to be able to meet so many different people, and this experience isn't just going to be like any other that I've ever had. So I think that's one that they're really surprised at.
I know what I hear from some students and families sometimes, that the bills go to the students and not to the family members, and so being responsible that they're communicating and taking care of issues like that that they weren't quite prepared for, and mom and dad are paying the bill, but I didn't know I was getting the bill and had to pass it along. So even just little things that deal with growing up.
But so much of it is literally how I'm going to live here. Less on the academics and the curriculums and the majors, and more on how I'm going to live.
Are there questions about how to, what if they run into academic issues? Is that something that's just brought up at orientation, or is that something the kids aren't thinking about at that point?
I think that people are thinking about academics from the get-go, but in my experience, these students that are coming to FSU are on top of their stuff. They've done their research about their academic programs, and if they don't know what they want to do, they have the opportunity to speak with the exploratory major, which is an amazing program here, and they have the opportunity of getting the building blocks to advising and registration for their classes from the first day of orientation. So we're really building up into that moment for them.
So FSU has something called the Seminole Scoop. What is it? How do you sign up for it?
Yeah, definitely. Seminole Scoop's an electronic newsletter that our office sends out once a month to our freshman and sophomore classes. It's very similar to what we send to Family Connection. It has, again, those important deadlines so that they're not missing things. It has tips to transition, events happening on campus, and just other fun little articles or posts from other current students. No need to sign up. We automatically put in any freshman and sophomore into that and just send it out to them. We will also post it on our website for anybody who's not getting it. So for juniors and seniors who still want that information, they got it before, or family members, faculty, and staff who want to see it, we do post them on our websites as well.
There's a week before classes start, there's a whole group of events dedicated to sort of getting the students, I guess, involved in campus. It's called Seminole Sensation Week. Tell us what that is and what kind of things that people can find out about.
Oh gosh, okay. Seminole Sensation Week is this wonderful, really packed, busy week full of all the different organizations on campus and campus partners and a whole wide range of things going on, trying to vie for students' attention. So there's free stuff, there's free food, there are games and different events going on and parties and things like that that really draw the students out of their residence halls when they first get here and give them the opportunity to find out what is going on this campus so that they can know what they have to look forward to for the next 4 years. So it's really important that during Seminole Sensation Week, those freshmen do come out of their rooms and, you know, leave their comfort zones a little bit and get out there and take part in, you know, Breakfast for a Buck or, you know, the meet and greet mixer at the Center for Multicultural Affairs, because then they'll be opening doors to getting involved in really
what's there quickly. Yeah. So how about convocation? We've revived this after a couple of years. A good thing?
Yes, it's a great thing. It's funny.
I know you go early, right?
My freshman year, I was the third person at my convocation. I got there about an hour and a half early. I was really excited.
Well, and it was like the first year that they had revised it when you were freshmen. So
I took in the entire experience from beginning to end. So it's almost, the way I explain it to freshmen and family members is, it's like reverse graduation. It is your entrance into the university, and that is when we pass the torches and from one class to another, and it's really neat to. It's
a wonderful ceremony.
Yeah, it's great. We have you come and speak, I believe, and we have a guest speaker this year. It'll be someone from our freshman reading book, the Book One Campus, Wine to Water. So we're going to have a speaker from that book.
Doc Henley.
Yes, Doc Henley, the author. And I didn't know if I was supposed to give it away or not. But it's really great, and it's a wonderful ceremony. And then afterwards, there's a big barbecue at the Barron's house.
And everybody gets a T-shirt that identifies their major, their college.
Which they can pick up during Seminole Sensation Week, so
which is
Saturday.
Well worth doing. A lot of colleges want their T-shirts for everybody, not just for the freshmen. So, you know, one of the other things that I constantly brag about, you guys, and I do it because I've gone to your training sessions and I've seen how intense it is and how dedicated it is, and I've watched you over campus giving directions and answering questions and always smiling. And so I tell alumni, when you're on campus and you see someone in a striped shirt that's garnet and gold, ask them how they're doing. And what do you say?
Living the dream.
Living the dream. And why? So why do you say that?
Well,
it's wonderful, but why do you say it?
Because we are.
Because it's true, yeah.
We're at Florida State.
We actually have this motivational speaker that comes in and speaks to each orientation, and he gives them tips to live by that really really help build them up for their college experience. So one of the main things that he says, and one of his main points, is to say when someone asks you how you're doing, to say you're living the dream, because there are a lot of people that are a lot less fortunate than we are. So to know that we're getting the opportunity to come to Florida State and to be a Seminole means that we're living the dream.
Go ahead.
Okay, one last thing. I know that the First Lady decides to drop in and act like a parent and go to orientation, or act like a student, a little bit more of a senior student. Is this a good thing? Does she throw you off your game, or?
Not at all.
Not at
She
all?
is our VIP guest, and whenever she comes, it's great because she'll get just as energized as we do, and she'll be shouting things during presentations like, "I didn't know that," and "This is so great," and so we have small group signs that we carry around, and so she was dancing and carrying those around for us, and she's a blast. So I'm glad we had our stamp of approval. Hopefully.
You definitely have it.
Thank you all for being here today. We've been talking with Andrea Failing, Tura, Magley, and Addison Hughes about what students and parents can do to make sure their college experience is a great one from the beginning. When we come back, Dr. Barron and I will talk one-on-one about more issues in education. Welcome back to Issues in Education. I'm Suzanne Smith, talking with Dr. Eric Barron, the president of the Florida State University. Dr. Barron, we've been talking about how to have a successful college experience from your first day on campus. What advice do you have for college students heading to FSU or to other colleges for the first time?
Okay, well, our students gave very good advice. Get engaged. An engaged student has a peer group that's engaged. If they're doing worthwhile experiences, it's above and beyond the classroom. Worthwhile experiences help you get jobs. Engaged students are happier students, and they have better grades.
What about parents? What advice do you have for parents?
You really have to let your children have the college experience. Pay attention, know that you, make sure they know you care, but make sure they're the ones that live the experience.
When you headed off to college for the first time, was there anything that you wish you had known before you got to campus?
You know, I don't know about wish I had known, but you know, it was a long time ago. Everything I had fit into one trunk, and I got on an airplane, and I flew to Tallahassee, and I got off the plane, and I went, okay, how do I get to campus? And you know, it's a whole new world of freedoms, and balancing that with doing well, and I just think you just have a hard time imagining what to expect.
I know one of your favorite parts of the start of the school year is the convocation ceremony and stuff. Why is it so important? Why do you like it so much?
Well, first of all, the door just opened. So I like that notion of the beginning. And the second thing is, we are a big university with a lot of opportunities. How does a big university feel small? Well, one way it feels small is by having shared experiences. So we send everybody a copy of a book. And the convocation speech is the author of that book, if we're lucky. And in this case, and last year, it was the same thing. So this is an opportunity for everybody, no matter what your background, no matter, you know, what you've experienced in your life, you have something that you can share. And then we pass out T-shirts that identify people, College of Music. And so whenever you see that light blue T-shirt, you see another music major. And so that helps, again, the college feel small, because we do that for every college. So it's a combination of fun, and it starts to build this sense of community on day one.
There's been talk that one of the T-shirts we may start seeing in a few years is the anthropology major.
Yes.
Coming back. It was cut several years ago because of budget issues. Is there, there's word it might come back. Is that possibly going to happen?
Yeah, I expect so. Basically, a lot of things were cut, 37 programs with the budget cuts. But some of the faculty were rehired in the case of anthropology through arbitration. And so the simple way to look at it is, if you have the faculty and they have the expertise and they're teaching, then students should have the opportunity to have it as a major. So that's the key. And the anthropology faculty is teaching more now than they they did 5 years ago.
The Board of Governors approved a 13% increase for FSU's tuition this summer. It's not as much as was requested, and as you and many others say, not as much as that's needed. Where does FSU's budget stand right now with the start of the new academic year, and what kind of challenges are FSU facing?
Okay, so first of all, we don't want to increase tuition. I would like to keep it just as cheap as possible. But we also have to compensate for the fact that the state keeps cutting our budget, and in large chunks. We lost $65 million in cash in one fell swoop this year. That's tough. And so about the only way out, unless you're going to let the programs really degrade, is to change tuition. So we would have had it be more. We're much cheaper than other Tier 1 research universities by a very large amount. Amazingly, it doesn't matter what state university you go to. There's only about a $30 a month difference between the most highly ranked university and ones that are regional. So I would have hoped for more, but our budget's balanced for the first time since the budget cuts began in 2006, 2007. And we are, as I told the Board of Governors and as I've told the Governor and the Legislature, going to do our best to invest in areas where we have high student demand and we're not filling it, in areas of energy and materials, hot job prospect, and in opening the doors to the College of Business for entrepreneurial students so that they can add to their background in any major and be more successful in getting jobs.
You've had 2 new hires recently, a new 7 Days of Opening Nights director and a new position focused on faculty, the new VP for Faculty Development and Advancement. Tell us quickly about these 2 new people.
And a third one, the VP for Research, Gary Ostrander, just was announced as well. So basically, Sally McCrory is focusing on how it is that we can make sure that our faculty are successful and that they're nationally recognized as superb. So this is really driven to promote faculty. 7 Days of Opening Nights, important community endeavor, and Steve McQueen is leaving, and so important to take the next step. Gary Ostrander is the VP for Research at University of Hawaii, and he's going to step right in there.
That's wonderful. Thank you very much, President Barron. That's our time for now. Please join us again next month for more Issues in Education. You can watch the premiere episode of Issues in Education the first Wednesday of every month at 7:30 p.m. That means you can see the next new episode on Wednesday, September 5th on WFSU-TV. Join us as we discuss the latest developments in higher education happening around the state and across the country. If you have questions you would like us to address on this program, you can email us at issues@wfsu.org. Again, that's issues@wfsu.org. If you would like to see past episodes of Issues in Education, head to the President's website at president.fsu.edu. I'm Suzanne Smith with the Florida State University President, Dr. Eric Barron, for Issues in Education. We'll see you next time.
Support for the production of Issues in Education is provided by the Florida State University License Plate. Your FSU license plate supports scholarships for students who enrich and contribute to our communities. Special programs, gift certificates, and rebates for first-time buyers online at fsu.edu/mytag.